911, what's the emergency?
Somebody has broken a window in the back, and the doctor did not show up for work today.
On a hot July morning, Joseph Sonnier was found dead in his home.
Oh no! Oh God!
Ma'am, what's going on?
His landscaper found him shot and stabbed multiple times.
There's a bullet that was laying on the ground. I need somebody to hurry.
Yes, ma'am.
Zach Johnson, a homicide detective with the Lubbock Police, heads to the scene. Dr. Sonnier's neighborhood, what kinds of crimes would typically happen there?
In my experience, it's been residential burglaries, prowler calls, suspicious persons, stuff of that nature.
It's not murders.
Not murders, not violent crime at all.
But this neighborhood had to be freaked out by this killer.
They were very scared because this doesn't happen, especially to somebody that's so esteemed.
When I first covered this case, Detective Johnson took me to the crime scene. As soon as Zach Johnson walked into the house, he knew immediately that this was not a robbery gone bad.
This is Dr. Sonnier's house. There was artwork in the home. There were very expensive pieces of furniture. There was iPads, all kinds of things, just kind of laying around, you know. Nothing was taken. It was an in and out job.
Whoever came in this house came in to kill the doctor. In the dining room is an initial scene where you have the windows pushed in and you have a trail of blood.
And that crime scene was very succinct. It wasn't spread out. You had the overturned chair, you had the glass on the floor, and you had the casings. So you knew that he was shot right here.
Investigators see now a Gatorade bottle and a shell casing with the hole blown out of the Gatorade bottle, suggesting somebody came up with the idea of a crude silencer, which I can tell you doesn't really work.
We were dealing with something that was a hit of sorts, that somebody had come to this house and to kill this person specifically. To me, it was just mind-boggling. You know, why is this man dead? He's a well-respected citizen in this community. Why is he dead?
The Sonnier children are devastated. I mean, first their mother is murdered, then their father is murdered. This just doesn't happen.
It doesn't happen. Forget about the coincidence of it all, the statistical likelihood that both parents would be murdered, separate occasions, is unfathomable.
I got the call the day before the 2-year anniversary of my mother's death. I thought maybe it had something to do with her death. That's how out of left field and completely out of nowhere this was.
We started racking our brains. Well, it's got to be some type of girlfriend situation. If it's not a robbery, it's somebody he knows.
His housekeeper, Fran, called me, and she said that something was going on at Joseph's house. The police were there, and they wanted me to come down.
When something like this happens, the first person police talk to is the closest loved one, and that would be Richelle Shetina.
I was in shock. I was devastated.
This is Richelle. Meeting with Richelle that very first time, I don't know a lot about her. In the very beginning, you always have to consider people the closest, because 90% of the time, it's going to be the people that are closest to our victims that commit the crime against them. How would you describe your relationship with Dr. Sonnier?
He's the love of my life.
There were a couple of things that were mentioned by her that struck me as odd.
Richelle Shetina had felt a little uneasy in the previous weeks before the murder took place. That someone was watching her. Maybe she was being followed. Something didn't seem quite right.
I'd gone in to work out, and I pulled into the parking lot, and there was this big, creepy-looking guy sitting there, and at the door, like he was looking for someone or watching someone.
It gives the investigators another sort of perspective. Is there some sort of surveillance or somebody that's actually watching the doctor and Richelle?
It's dark outside, and Joseph and I both saw a flash from the outside. We laughed and kind of joked about, maybe somebody was following us.
Right from the beginning, Richelle's attitude is pointing the fingers at all kinds of people. She starts offering a laundry list of potential candidates.
There's just, some girls that he dated. Joseph would get these horrible text messages, calling him, you're such a whatever.
Richelle starts telling Johnson about different ex-girlfriends in Joseph Sonnier's life as people who could possibly hold a grudge against him.
I got a letter in my mailbox. It was from this girl who said that she met Joseph on the internet and that they had sex for money, basically. And he said, this is obviously someone trying to drive a wedge in between us.
Was there a sense of who might be trying to drive a wedge between the two of you?
To me, it was like it had to be like an ex-girlfriend or something.
But Johnson has an idea that maybe it's somebody in Richelle's past that has it in for Dr. Sonnier.
So there could be somebody that you think we need to look at.
A couple of people.
Okay, tell me about one of them.
Dr. Michael Dixon. He's a plastic surgeon in Amarillo.
Hello, I'm Dr. Mike Dixon. If you're considering plastic surgery, make sure your surgeon is certified by the American Board of Plastic Surgery.
He had a med spa in Amarillo, and I went there to get Botox injections.
What attracted you to him?
He was funny, he was very witty, and he was enjoyable. It was, if it can be enjoyable to have somebody put needles in your face, I guess that's about as enjoyable as it could be.
Richelle and Mike Dixon had dated for about 1.5 years, and then they broke up. And then Richelle started dating again, soon after seeing Joseph Sonnier.
Did he know about your current relationship?
He knew that I was dating Joseph. He called him by name in a series of text messages trying to get me to go out with him and to meet him for coffee.
So he wanted you to see him on the side, basically.
He wanted me to come back to him. I told him no.
But the real question is, was Dixon the kind of man to take no for an answer? Johnson wants to know what Dixon knows, so he jumps in his car and drives 2 hours to Amarillo, Texas to talk to Mike Dixon, secretly recording him when they start talking.
Hi, I hate to come bugging you at your house in all hours of the night.
What's going on?
Well, we've had a homicide in Lubbock, Texas today. I told him it was Richelle's boyfriend, and his first thing was, oh, I don't know anything about him.
I don't know anything about him. I haven't talked to her in months and months.
Zach Johnson knows someone's lying. The question is, who's lying?